cafe owner contacted me 3 years ago about a customer who came to a restaurant every single day for 4 months, always at 3:47 p.m., never a minute earlier, never a minute late. He always ordered black coffee, always the same cup, always sat at the same table, closest to the window. No phone, no newspaper, no conversation. Elena told me that after a while she stopped noticing him and started noticing the absence of variation. The way nothing ever changed, then one afternoon, he stopped coming. 2 months later, they found his body in an abandoned chapel on the northern edge of the island. No identification, no passport, no phone. No one ever came looking for him. But when I started investigating, I found something that made the entire case collapse in on itself. Something impossible. My name is Rafe Quinn. I investigate things that do not fit, not crimes, necessarily, not always even dangerous, just patterns. Because patterns don't exist to explain the world. They exist to reveal what someone is trying very hard not to say out loud. I don't work for the police anymore. I work for myself. And I document what I find, not because I believe every mystery can be solved, but because some patterns refuse to stay quiet once you notice them. The island is called San Michele, a small Greek island in the Aegean Sea, about 30 miles from the Turkish coast. In summer, San Michele attracts a few hundred tourists, mostly Europeans looking for quiet beaches and whitewashed villages where time feels slower than it should. But when October arrives, the island empties. Tavernas close, hotels shut down, chairs are stacked against walls. The population drops to fewer than 200 permanent residents. There is no airport, no bridge. The only way to reach San Michele is by ferry from Athens, 4 times a week, weather permitting. On islands like this, people don't disappear easily. They're remembered, talked about, watched. Elena Vassos contacted me in October of 2015. She owned a small cafe on the island called Café Artemis. She told me about a man who had come to her cafe every day from June through September of 2012. Always at exactly 3:47 p.m. Not 3:45, not 3:50, always 3:47. At first, she thought it was coincidence. Then she thought it was habit. Then she realized it was something else entirely. He always sat at the same table by the window. Always ordered black coffee. Nothing else. He never spoke unless spoken to. And even then, his answers were short, measured, as if saying too much might disturb something fragile. Mostly, he just sat there, staring out at the harbor, not watching boats come in, not watching people leave, just staring. On the 28th of September, 2012, he did not come. Elena said she noticed immediately. She didn't look at the clock because she needed to. She looked because she expected to see 3:47 confirmed. When it wasn't, it felt wrong. Not frightening, just incomplete. Like a sentence without a period. 2 months later, in November, a fisherman found his body in the ruins of an old stone chapel on the northern edge of the island. The police ruled it self-inflicted. They could not identify him. No wallet, no papers, just the clothes he was wearing and a worn leather briefcase sitting beside him. Inside the briefcase, there was only one item, a single photograph. No documents, no letters. Nothing that explained who he was, just the image. It showed a woman and a young girl standing on a beach. The woman was smiling. The girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, was holding her hand. The photograph was old, faded, its edges worn soft, as if it had been folded, unfolded, and handled over many years. On the back, written in pencil, were the words, Santorini, 1987. The police tried to trace it. They checked missing person reports. They ran the image through databases. Nothing. No one recognized the woman. No one recognized the girl. And when they contacted authorities in Santorini, they were told something that made no sense at all. The beach in the photograph didn't match any known location on the island. I told Elena I would look into it, because patterns like this don't form by accident. They form when someone repeats the same choice over and over, hoping the result will eventually change. I flew to Athens and took the ferry to San Michele. Elena met me at the port and drove me to the café. Café Artemis sat on a narrow street overlooking the harbor. It was small. 6 tables inside. White walls, blue shutters faded by salt and sun. The kind of place where routines settle in quietly and stay for decades. Elena pointed to a table near the window. The one closest to the glass. She said that was where he always sat. I asked her to describe him. She said he was tall, maybe 6'2", thin, pale, late 40s, maybe early 50s. He wore a dark wool coat, even in the summer heat, and he always carried the briefcase, brown leather. Old, she said. It looked like something that had traveled a long way. She said he first appeared in early June of 2012. She never learned where he stayed, but every afternoon at exactly 3:47 p.m., he would walk into the cafe, order black coffee in broken English, sit by the window, and stay for at least an hour. Sometimes longer, never less. I asked her how she knew it was always 3:47. She said she didn't at first. But after the first week, she started checking the clock when he arrived, not because she was curious, because she needed to be sure she wasn't imagining it. Every single time. 3:47. Then Elena told me something she had not mentioned to the police. In mid-August, about 6 weeks before the stranger stopped coming, a woman entered the cafe late in the morning. She was in her 60s, well-dressed, calm. She spoke English with a European accent. She asked Elena if she had seen a man matching the stranger's description. Elena said yes. The woman nodded. Then she said, "Tell him I was here. Tell him I tried." Elena asked who she was. The woman looked at her for a long moment, then said, "Someone who should have been here sooner." And she left. That afternoon, at exactly 3:47 p.m., the stranger came in. Elena told him a woman had been looking for him. He did not react. He did not ask who. He simply nodded and turned back toward the window, as if he already knew. On the 14th of November, 2012, a fisherman named Dmitri found the stranger's body in the abandoned chapel. The police estimated he had been dead for about 6 weeks. Cause of death was ruled self-inflicted. There was no identification, nothing except the briefcase. When I reviewed the police photographs, I noticed something else. The stranger was wearing a watch. In one photo, the face was clearly visible. The watch had stopped at 3:47 p.m. I called the officer who handled the case. He said they noticed the watch, but assumed the battery had died earlier. But the estimated time of death was early morning, not 3:47 p.m., which meant the watch had stopped before he died. At the exact moment he always arrived at the cafe. I asked about ferry records. Every passenger manifest from May through June of 2012 had been checked. No one matching the stranger's description appeared. Then I found something else. A local fisherman named Stavros remembered giving a man a ride from a nearby island in early June. The payment stuck with him. The man paid in Greek drachmas, a currency Greece stopped using in 2002, 10 years before the stranger arrived. Stavros still had the coins. They were real. Dated 1987. I drove to the chapel where the body had been found. It was isolated. 15 minutes from town. Stone walls half collapsed. Roof caved in. A place no one visited by accident. I stood inside for a long time, listening, trying to understand why someone would choose a place like this. Why stay visible instead of free? I went back to Café Artemis and asked Elena if I could see the photograph again. The police had returned it. After closing the investigation, she brought it out. I studied it closely, the woman, the girl, the beach. The longer I looked at it, the heavier it felt. I asked Elena how long the cafe had been in her family. She told me her mother opened it in 1985. She ran it until she died in 1987. After that, Elena took it over. I looked at the photograph again, then at Elena, and asked if she had any photos of her mother. She brought out an old album. There was a picture from 1986, her mother standing in front of the cafe. Samey smile, samey face. It was the woman from the photograph. I asked Elena if she recognized the girl. She stared at it for a long time, so long that I thought she wouldn't answer. Then she said, "That's me. That's me and my mother." The photograph had been taken in Santorini in 1987, one of the last trips before her mother became ill. Her mother died 3 months later. The stranger had been carrying a photograph of Elena's mother for 25 years. Every day he came to the cafe she had built, Saturday by the same window. At exactly 3:47 p.m., the same time she used to take her afternoon break, I asked Elena if her mother had ever mentioned a man, someone from before she married. Elena thought for a long time. Then she said her mother used to talk about someone, a man who left, a man she waited for. She never said his name. Every afternoon at 3:47, Elena's mother would sit by the window and drink black coffee. When Elena asked what she was looking for, her mother always said the same thing. She said, she was waiting. I don't know who the stranger was. I don't know why it took him 25 years to come back. I don't know if the woman who came looking for him was trying to help him or stop him. What I do know is this. He came to that cafe every day at the exact time someone once waited for him. And when she was no longer there, he kept waiting anyway. There is a grave on San Michele overlooking this. The headstone reads, Agnostos Anthropos. Unknown man, but he was not unknown to everyone. Elena still runs the cafe. The table by the window is still there. Sometimes, at 3:47 p.m., she sits there herself, drinks black coffee, and looks out at the harbor, not waiting for anyone, just remembering. Some people say grief is just love with nowhere to go. I think the stranger of San Michele spent 25 years looking for a place to put his, and when he finally found it, it was already empty.